I think we'll go ahead and get started. We'll call the meeting to order. Jan is called in. She's not going to make it. And Jim is not here, but we'll see if he might be running a little bit behind. So recognition of a quorum, consent agenda on items A through D. Is there any questions or concerns before I call for a motion on those 4 items?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mid-staff meeting summary by Dr. Devine.
Okay, so we have 2 months worth, but it's not long, thank heaven. So the first one was from November 11th. Our pharmacist Adam gave a presentation on surviving sepsis and hemodynamic management. This is something that we like to make kind of like MI and stroke, where it's automatic, so that there is a set of orders that nurses can start before the provider actually gets in the room, so that we can try to increase survival. The rooms are west that were renovated are now open. They're working on the punch list, with that means basically things that we have to adapt and everything. We don't know until we're in it how it's going to work. We discussed mentorship for new providers lasting 6 to 8 months. This is not just for those directly out of school, but I mean, if you have a brand new computer system, a brand new everything, you need somebody you can just bounce things off of. So that was something we discussed, because we really haven't had a formal way to do that. It would be a little bit longer for those people that are just out of residency, just so they have a little time to adapt and have somebody to bounce things off of. We then we didn't actually have any new or reinstatement people at that point. To December, we have a bunch of staffing changes. Dr. Cunningham is a surgeon out of Council Bluffs, does bariatrics. He's going to come give a presentation in January regarding that. Recruitment is still ongoing, and there's a couple of leads, which I'm sure he will talk about. Dr. Bay's retirement was last week, his last day. Advanced dermatology will no longer be coming after March, so we will be looking for more of that. And Dr. Mohammed will be adding an additional nephrology day starting in January. So we'll have 2 nephrologists coming out, each one a half day for the month. Then the recommendations regarding blood transfusions. There really wasn't anything formal in any of our papers on when to redraw an H&H. So we kind of came up with that if you do it during the transfusion, you're actually just taking the blood that you just put in back out, so it's not going to be very accurate. So 2 hours after the transfusion is completed would probably be an appropriate time. And we decided on that one. We have Shelley Menard beginning at Myrtue Behavioral Health December 10th, so she's probably here now. And another licensed therapist has been hired. Finishing the punch list from the previous meeting, still working on that. And they started work on the old cardiac rehab and the old outpatient area. Dr. Shutt from NDS1 said that he doesn't just do foot and ankle, he also does wrist, elbow, and hand surgeries, but does not do total joints, so wanted some more referrals from us from those other things. He also likes assessing trauma. And also we had Dr. Garten said that he also would like to do more breast and ports. He's been doing all the other things, but for general surgery, we weren't sure exactly, and he's up for it, so that's awesome. Behavioral health will no longer be called behavioral health. It will be known as NOC mental health. And I think everything else is very interesting. Any questions?
All right. Thank you, Dr. Devine. If there isn't any questions, we'll move on to the quality improvement report by Laura.
Okay. On November 19th, 14 departments reported at the QI department meeting or system-wide meeting. Diabetic education had 24 referrals, and they reported that the initial A1C levels were 8.3%, and then following education were 6.1%, which is great. Diagnostic imaging, monitored imaging rescan rates, we want that number to be below 6%, and it was at 4.2%. Dietary had new measures, and they're monitoring the inpatient consult being performed within 24 hours after being ordered, and that was at 93%. as well as patient caloric and protein needs for patient adequate supplementation was at 97%, so that's great. The emergency department monitored patient arrival to physician or provider evaluation time, and that was at 19 minutes, so that's great. Maintenance monitored compliance with system-wide inspections. Marketing monitored the accuracy of all the advertising materials going out, and that was at 100%. There was no adverse drug events from pharmacy. And respiratory therapy also had all new measures, and they're looking at really our surgical procedures for orthopedics, that they get the proper education, and that was at 100%, so that is great as well. So that's really just kind of the highlights from the meeting, so. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Laura.
All right, if no questions, thank you, Laura. We'll move on to admin reports. Chief Nursing Officer Nicole.
All right, so we met November 5th for joint conference, and Kathy Buman at that meeting shared that we had about $1,900 in disaster planning funds for the year. We haven't determined what we're going to use those for at the present time. Trauma case study was held today, December 16th, this morning from 7 to 9, and I believe we had a full house in here attending that. There wasn't anything new from a stroke standpoint. Pediatrics, we hosted the University of Iowa Sim Truck. They came on site and did a couple of scenarios, simulations with our team, and we had about 30 team members across different departments attend that, and it seemed like a pretty well-received training. It was related to postpartum hemorrhage and pediatric RSV emergencies. Chest pain and heart failure, we continue to work with the AHA and have those programs, and we are going to be able to use the registry for free moving forward because we're a critical access hospital, so that's a good thing for us. Jason Eckerman reported from a lab standpoint, we had no proficiency failures, and from Nancy Gow in pharmacy, we still do have a lorazepam shortage, and so we've been working with providers to order other items, and Nancy's really great about keeping as much on hand as possible, so we'll continue to monitor that. I shared regarding Lippincott, which is our policy and procedure program that we use here. Out of 42 policy manuals that we have here through the hospital, 18 are entirely uploaded to Lippincott. 4 are set up and but not quite live, and 7 departments have a few policies uploaded. There are 13 departments that are not currently active, so that's kind of a big push. We want to get everybody on there by fiscal year 27. So it's just a one-stop shop for anybody looking for a policy moving forward. Inspections and appeals, we didn't have anything from that standpoint. And then if you look pages 17 through 25 in your packet, we had the quarterly and annual policy and procedure revisions by the departments, along with EPIC order set revisions. Laura shared core measures information, which she kind of went through some of that here as well. And that was all we have. So I just need a motion to approve our joint conference minutes.
So moved. I'll second.
First and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
Chief Clinic Administrator Kim.
So construction continues. Things are really shaping up nicely over there. It looks absolutely amazing. The staff is getting really excited to get moved in. It seems like every day there's one more thing that is being checked off the list, which is great. I guess my biggest news is that we've officially set a date, and January 12th will be the day that we officially start seeing patients out of the new location and utilizing the exam rooms. So leading up to that, we'll do some coordination and getting everybody situated in their space, ensuring that all the systems work, getting everything stocked, and having all those supplies ready for that first day.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Will there be a few days prior to the 12th to do some trial runs and stuff?
absolutely.
As far as
We're-
computer entry and...
That's
that
what we're
stuff.
prepping for.
Okay.
Yep. We
Awesome.
want to ensure everybody can get logged into their system, especially the computers in their offices and then kind of in their designated spaces, just so there's no glitches to the system.
Be a nice smooth transition then.
That's what
hopefully.
we're hoping for. We're looking for smooth transition, not only for patients, but for staff as well.
Awesome. All right, any more questions for Kim? All right, Chief Human Resource Officer Jill.
Okay, From personnel standpoint, overall retention remains high at between 88 and 89% across the entire organization. So we do spend time engaging with our current OBGYN who's progressing through her fellowship. So she's progressing nicely through that, and she's on target to have the requisite number of primary C-sections by the time that she's done. However, she did have a baby this last year, so that is going to push her back just a little bit. So we're working with her and the University of Iowa to make sure she gets those completed by the end of her assignment, which we're anticipating to be the end of July next year. As far as OBGYN recruitment, we do continue to have conversations with a husband and wife team. So they reached out to us this week again and said they're interested in Myrtue. So we continue to have those talks with them, and they're looking forward to coming out and visiting the Harlan area and getting more familiar with this area. I also wanted to share with the board that we are introducing a new benefit plan effective January 1st. So with the start of our new benefit plan year, we'll introduce paid parental leave. So that will be available to both employed moms and dads at Myrtue. Myrtue will provide a period of 2 weeks of 100% paid time off to care for birth of a baby or for the placement of an adopted child or a foster child.
Nice.
Great support for families.
Yep.
Okay, anything else for Joe? Any questions? All right. We'll move on to Chief Information Officer Jeff.
Yes, as Kim had mentioned, team has been very busy placing PCs. I think we had 75 we had put in the new space. So they're all up and running and just waiting. We'll coordinate the times when staff can go in and log in, make sure everything's okay there. We have had 2 meetings pertaining to Office 365. We will be transitioning to the web versions of Office by the end of January. So the primary push on that is Microsoft Exchange, which is our email system. The on-prem is no longer supported. We do have a 6-month extension that we qualified for, being a nonprofit. So that ends up terminating in April. So we'll be on 365 in plenty of time. The other, talk about printer refresh. Gosh, kind of hard to see, sorry about that. But we have a total of a little over 100 machines in-house. We lease 39 devices. They're all primarily all multifunction, printer, scanner, fax, along that lines. We have 18 different models, and of the 39, over half are on a month-to-month payment now instead of under an actual lease. Still have support and everything. So they each have unique cartridges. Don't have ones common for all of them, of course. So it creates a storage issue. We also have, as part of Visual Edge, monitors usage and toner, and we do have on some of them an automatic refresh. Say, hey, you're out of toner on a printer, they send us a new cartridge. Well, sometimes they have the name on which one is low, sometimes they don't. So we don't necessarily know 100% where that's supposed to go. So it creates a little bit of research time. We're currently spending on average on these leased equipment $5,881 a month, which includes the toner, the maintenance, a limited number of prints per device. It's about $20 worth at roughly 3 cents an image. So you kind of calculate that. And we have multiple invoices on those 39 printers. So I think there's 5 or 6 that I approve every, Brenda Conrad enters, I approve, depending on the dollar amount, they might go to Barry or not. So a lot of additional work there. Beyond those, we have 59 that we own, which are primarily a single function printer. We do have a couple small, very small multi-function desktop units that we have purchased ourselves. Again, there's 21 models on that. Same issues, the maintaining the toner, the storage, everything along that. And we buy most of the products from Amazon. So we buy an awful lot of products from Amazon, so I couldn't get an exact dollar amount that we spend on a monthly basis, but it's estimated $1,500, even up to $2,000 a month that we spend on toner. If a device needs to be replaced, we buy those smaller devices up via Amazon also. So total, between the two, we're paying about $7,400 per month on print. That doesn't include paper, it's just print. So we have, several months ago, we went out and said, well, can we get a better deal, better price on what we're looking for? We came up with somewhat of an RFP we sent out. We wanted to lease all of our devices, all 100 plus devices. Requirement was to buy out the existing leases, get down to one payment. All new HP devices, which we were limited by the University of Iowa on the devices that we could look at because they certify those as EPIC compatible. So we had, I think, 3 models or three vendors we could look at. Kind of landed on HP. It would get us down to 4 devices, 4 models. Two models on multifunction, one just a black and white and the other color. Same way with the desktop, one color model, one black and white model. Obviously, common toners, space is a lot, conserved on the amount that we have to have. Plus, if somebody says, I need a toner cartridge, it's a black and white printer, we know exactly which one to go to. We also wanted unlimited prints and copies. We have those $20 worth of images, and we pay for every one above that. So this would be unlimited, doesn't matter how much we print. And then that gets us down to 1 invoice also. So, kind of a recap, we pay approximately $7,400 per month. Comes up to $88,700 roughly on an annual basis. We did, like I say, have an RFP. We had Visual Edge respond as well as all copy products. Visual Edge proposed $6,719 per month. Turns into about $80,700 on an annual basis, $423,000 on the life of the lease, which is 63 months. All copy products gave us a price of $74.57, comes in about $89.5 on annual, and close to $470,000 on a 63-month contract. We're paying, let's see, I have it right here. We're paying currently $465,653. So by entering into an agreement with Visual Edge, we estimate over the life of the contract a minimum of $42,000 in savings. And that's not putting in kind of the soft costs of 1 invoice versus 5 or 6 to process, research on when we receive a toner cartridge, on employee time trying to figure that out.
And that's a 63-month period?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So more than 5 years.
Most of our leases are all at 63 months.
Are you satisfied with the customer service from Visual Edge?
We're getting better, yes, we are.
Getting better?
Yeah.
Makes me nervous.
Justin Cox is here, he's our account manager with Visual Edge.
Okay.
For a while, a year ago, we were having some problems. Justin and Ryan, his boss, came out, we sat down, we went through all of our issues, and much, much better now. We had great service, when I first started to begin with. They were purchased by, it was Council. They were purchased by Visual Edge, and as they were transitioning into, there was a lot of heartache as part of that process. We had to call Texas to get a ticket, and then it wasn't necessarily routed to the technicians locally here in Harlan, and so we've got all that worked out. We've got Chad Sears, thank you. Chad Sears pretty much dedicated to our account here, and he's been great. He's been really good. We always wanted him to come and service our equipment anyway. So we were able to work that through and have very little issues anymore. So.
Would you say there's will be less staff energy time?
Yes, yep. Primarily, on the billing side, because we don't have 6 invoices to process every month. When the current process of we receive a toner, we may not know exactly where that's going. Some of them come in and say it's behavioral health, this, specifically, but some of them come in, they don't have that location.
Yeah.
This would eliminate a lot of that,
Yeah.
because all we have to do, we'll have a supply of cartridges on the shelf. What kind of printer do you have? I got a black and white desktop. Yep, right here you go. So much easier there. Eliminating the ordering, the purchase of everything through Amazon. And also my IT staff in trying to decipher what's what. Is it which driver am I using? I don't have to go out and search. We have one that we need to look for.
And you're happy with HP as a brand?
Yes, we've got, I think about 6 HPs right now in-house, maybe a couple more. I have one in my office that I've run for 5 years, and it's been great. We have multi-function up in marketing that we haven't had any issues with. Also an HP down in behavioral health. Those 2 are both colored. All 3 of them actually are colors, and haven't had any issues with those. We also, the business office needed an upgrade, a machine died there. We worked with Visual Edge and said, okay, give us one of the proposed models as a proof of concept, and that's been running for 3 months without a phone call or any issues.
I would think we're getting to a point of not printing so much.
We would hope.
Seem that way.
Yeah, no, we should, but there's just so much stuff that, printing after visit summaries for patients. If they're not on my chart, then we have a requirement to print and provide that, so.
Okay.
So does this include service agreements then, or
Yes,
or
yes.
an annual checkup of the hardware?
Yep.
That's everything,
All-
maybe except paper.
Correct. Everything except paper. So we have an issue with one, we just call Chad or the Visual Edge number, and they'll be out to fix it. We have, examples would be like a hard drive fails on the multifunction occasionally. We just would come out, replace the hard drive, reconfigure it, and off we go.
Great.
So with that, I would like approval to move forward with a lease of all of our devices for 63 months, $6,718 per month for a contract price of $423 and change.
Is that included buyout of any of our current leases?
Every lease is bought out, yes, correct.
I move approval of the recommendation.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Yeah, awesome. CEO Barry.
Yeah, so you should have the premium comparison in front of you that I sent out, actually sent it out yesterday. So we start this process, Christy and I, with our brokers, like in October. They come out and kind of talk us through what things are looking like. And Christy provides them with quite a bit of information as well. But and so we did have them, our broker out of Omaha, FNIC, they have kind of a partnership with Brent Chevy at the agency, so we have that local representation as well. So this is what the renewal looks like for next year. And so you can kind of look down through the list and you can see what our premium was last year. So what our change will be for next year. I don't really have a lot of other comments. It's really not too bad this year. The business auto did go up a little bit. It's probably the one with the biggest increase, but otherwise stayed pretty much in line. So what I am needing from you to bind this coverage is to get approval for the renewal for next year, for 2026. Have any questions?
The bottom line on that total premium, that went down?
So the cyber part is not added in there yet.
Okay.
So that was extended for 2 months, and then we'll renew that at a later
Okay,
date.
so I was curious about that.
Yeah.
And does this also reflect the fact that we have more facilities
Yes, they
Yeah,
have
sure.
it.
with the construction?
That's a good point.
That is not included in here. That's a good point. They told us what the additional cost would be for the expansion of the clinic. You have it? How much?
20,000.
So an additional 20,000 to that 173,000 on the top line.
Yeah, well, 3% increase, I was pleased. I mean, Kat's here pleased with an increase, but only a 3% was
And we did go through
manageable.
this with the finance committee. We
Yeah.
spent like an hour with the finance committee and the brokers, so really kind of went through all the coverages in pretty good detail
Yeah.
with that group.
So I'm gonna move the approval of the premium for the coming year to the 829,000, correct?
809.
Or 809, but the 20,000 on top.
829,000.
829,000, yeah.
That'd be correct.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And then I have another handout for you, and really just wanted to let you know where we're at on the big project, the expansion, the renovation with the rural health clinic, the med-surg work that we're doing, as well as the specialty clinic. So on this handout, the left column there is what we budgeted for the GMP, guaranteed maximum price, $20,770,000. We did get a separate approval for the architect, which was a little over $1.5 million. And then the board approved owner equipment for all of those areas was $1,562,000. So that next column over shows what's been spent to date. About $17,956,000 on the GMP contract, $1,489,000 on the architect, and $1,366,000 on owner-provided equipment. And then you can see what the difference is, the remaining budget. That far right-hand column, that consists of the project contingency that was put into the, I think we used, was it 10% project contingency?
At Murray's level?
Yeah, on the
It was only
GMP.
5%.
It's 5%.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, it includes some owner enhancements. So these are things that, once we got into the project, we found that could be removed. So those dollars are kind of in this pot that allows us to kind of use those towards anything else that comes up. Or if there's dollars left at the end of the contract, we'll get those back. And that's $461,000 right now. I know we have some areas that will kind of cut into that 461. I would think we'll probably spend at least half of that with some other changes that we're looking at right now. But that gives you a pretty good idea of where we're at, and that we're not going over budget or over what was approved by the board way back. However long ago that was that we approved this project. As far as debt, we've got authorized for $12 million. So far we've borrowed $6,447,000, so we have $5.5 million left to issue if we choose to. And I don't know, Christy, you mentioned where you think we'll end up on that. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, we estimate that we'll only really need to borrow $10 million for this project. There's been some question about using all of our cash reserves to the project versus taking out the debt, so we'll kind of take a look at that. And also some other funding opportunities that are available to us that I'll talk about in a little bit might make a change too, to whether or not we want to borrow the full 12. So the options are there.
So that box down at the bottom, so these are other items that were approved by the board. We did some of the work on med-surg. Some of those rooms were done internally. We had a budget of $160,400 and have spent $109,000 so far on that. The RHC, the existing second floor of the RHC, we had a $150,000 budget for that. And none of that has been spent to date. Then we'll also have some computers that were budgeted at $141,000. And we're at $104,000 on that. The other capital projects, we budgeted $2.7 million and have spent $1,562,000 about halfway through the year. So just kind of give you an idea on the capital items, on where we're at thus far through the fiscal year. Any questions on that? I did want to just recognize Mike for his efforts this past couple of years. I know we've had a lot going on here at the hospital, and probably more than usual over the last year. A lot of time spent by really all the board members, but Mike has been our chair for the last couple of years. So wanted to present this plaque to him. So this achievement is presented to Mike Frederick in appreciation of your outstanding leadership, commitment, and service to the Myrtue Medical Center Board of Trustees. Chair of Board of Trustees, January 2024 through December 2025. So, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Well, while we're giving out plaques, the board would like to give one to you, Barry. The board would just like to thank you for outstanding leadership, dedication, and commitment to Myrtue and our community over the last 28 years. Your vision and integrity have left a lasting mark on Myrtue and all of us who had the privilege to work with you. This plaque is presented with sincere gratitude and best wishes for a fulfilling and well-deserved retirement. Well, I think we're going to hang it by the Board of Trustees pictures, but you're still the boss. You can hang it wherever you want.
For a little while.
For a little while. Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it.
I did just want to thank the whole board for all the work that you do. I've always found you to be very thoughtful in your oversight and really passionate about always trying to find ways to improve the hospital, improve our services. So really appreciate your expertise and your leadership over the last several years. So thank you.
All right, next we got Christie for some consideration approval of the financial statements.
First, I just kind of wanted to mention this grant activity that we have going on right now. So in the big beautiful bill, there was rural health transformation funds that was part of the reduction in the Medicaid directed payment that was going to go out for rural county, rural health care too. So the state has applied for their money. They will know the end of the calendar year. They'll take those funds that they get and they'll distribute them to rural communities or facilities, organizations that are going to help rural communities. So there was 7, I believe, RFPs put out by Department of Human Services, and 3 of them that we feel that we have the ability to meet the requirements for. Some of them are really just to get an organization out there to say, okay, this is our big picture, tell us kind of how to do this type thing. So that's more of a marketing or organizational thing like this. But there's 3 that we're working on. The staff is working diligently and quickly on looking at the best and brightest for equipment. So they have equipment grants out there. So we are going to apply for a grant to have a new MRI, which they would cover 100% if we get the grant. So plus some training, that kind of stuff. It does not cover any new facilities. So that's where we kind of come into, if we move forward with an MRI that we can get the cost of the MRI covered, do we want to take that remaining debt and pay for the facility. So that's kind of my comment on that. The other one is recruitment. You can recruit for 2 different levels of licensure, so we'll look at doing both of those for an OBGYN and an RN in that area. And then the other one is Certificate of Excellence, or Center of Excellence, and we are looking at that for the OB department. It's all about having a center where folks can get the services they need, but also these spokes that are going out to their local communities so that they can get services closer to home, such as what we're doing with Kelly Anderson in Manning and Audubon, and it just, OB, there's a lot of OB, what they call OB deserts in the state of Iowa, where women are having to go 30, 40 minutes to get to a facility to deliver a baby. So we would like to keep our OB. We've invested a lot of time and energy in that. So that's one of them that we're going to go there. All applications are due January 5th, so we've had about a 2-week turnaround with the holidays in there. And we should know in mid to late January whether or not we get the funding. If the state doesn't get the funding, we won't get the funding. So we'll really probably partially know by the end of December. So we are moving forward with those grants, and like I said, there's a lot of staff that's putting a lot of time into getting all this information put together. Talk about the 4 months ended financial reports at the end of October. October of 2025, we did see increases in the majority of our services there. You can see there we were at 5,725 outpatient visits in the month of October. ER visits were 508, 165 surgical procedures, 3,923 patient visits to the clinics, 1,255 behavioral health visits. Our average daily census, it was pretty high in the month of October, 8.5 patients per day. We had 14 births, so OB was very busy in the month of October. You can see there from our net operating revenue of $5.9 million, our net operating expenses of $5.4, so we were about $500,000 gain there. Net other non-operating net expenses was $31,030. We are still paying a little bit for ambulance support, and we also are paying our interest on our debt. And we don't have the investment income because we've used the majority of our resources. So that's why there's such a change in that. Year to date, you can see there that we're over 21,000, almost 21,500 visits in 4 months to outpatient, 2.5% increase. Emergency room visits are up 6.9%. Surgical procedures are up 14%. So we're really seeing an increase there. Physician clinic visits are down slightly at 1.8%. I would probably say that's probably related to construction and maybe a little bit of disruption there. Behavioral health is up 5.2%. We are still down year to date for our average daily census, down to about 6.6 patients per day in the facility. We've had 43 births compared to 38 last year, so we're up 13.2. So we have a 13% increase in our operating revenue, 8.9% in our operating expenses. So we are seeing a significant increase in our operating gain there. Non-operating, we're down about 50%. We're still at a gain of $440,000. So our bottom line, we're up 28% to $2.5 million compared to $2 million last year. Any questions in October? So again, just kind of this is what we started during the COVID years and we liked it. So it's just a 4-year history of the first 4 months of each year. You can see there that we've continued to grow in our outpatient visits, which is one of the areas where we can see the most financial growth also. Emergency room visits are up each year also there. Surgical procedures, pretty consistent. We're up from 2022 each year. Seeing that bigger increase this year. Physician clinic visits, again, had a peak there in 24, but pretty consistent yet. Behavioral health, still hanging in there pretty consistent. Our average daily census that we've talked about, inpatient, swing bed, just not seeing the patients. It's the goals for most insurance companies and providers are to keep people out of the hospital, so we will continue to see that. Hopefully, we've stayed pretty consistent the last few years there, so hopefully we're kind of getting to where we're gonna settle there. Births, you can see there, we just continue to grow year to year. Revenues, expenses, so bottom line continues to grow there and pretty significant the last couple of years, and that's for our directed payment money, so that is helping us financially significantly. Any questions on that?
All right. Anything else, Kristen? All right. Well, can we get a approval on this, if everybody is in agreement with it? Can I get a motion?
I'll second the approval of the financials.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Anything else before we go into closed session, Barry? All right. Pursuant to Iowa Code 2151L, I need a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Have a first and a second. We'll go ahead and do roll call.
Terry Tornaden? Aye.
Mike Frederick, aye.
Janine Larson, aye.
James Speaker, aye.
Kate Cooper's aye.
All right. Motion approved. We're now in closed session.